We are going to talk about wrapper classes, and the agenda for the session is we are going to see what are wrapper classes, we are going to see what primitives and wrappers are, the types of runtime processes, how to convert wrapper class or primitive data types into wrapper classes, and sample programs. That's all. So what is a wrapper class? It is a class that is used for converting your primitive data types into objects. So wrapper classes are manipulative. They create objects from the primitive data types that you usually declare in an instance. Like say for example, we have an instance variable or a class variable. These variables are converted as objects using the wrapper class. The corresponding package that is used for converting primitive data types into wrapper classes is the java.lang package. Okay, but we don't have to import this particular package. The java.lang package gets imported automatically whenever we type a Java program. As you can see in the slide, the java.lang package is automatically imported into a Java program. So the user need not import it explicitly. He can just not write that line itself. It's as simple as that. In this table, we see a primitive type, a data type, and its corresponding wrapper class. So byte for a byte, integer for an integer, long for a long. So each and every primitive data type has a corresponding wrapper class. Runtime processes are processes when you give an input and the user is asked to give an input, and this input has to be converted into an object or passed as a constructor in an object and stored in the memory. And there are two types of runtime processes. One is the stream process and the other is the command line arguments. So let's see them individually. Stream process. This is usually included in the java.io package, but this needs to be imported. Okay, it's not like the java.lang package wherein you can simply overlook to import it, but in this case the java.io package has to be imported. There are two classes. One is the data input stream, which is byte oriented. In other words, whatever data I give inside the data input stream is saved as bits and bytes. But whereas the buffered reader, which is present in the later versions of Java, unlike the data input stream, saves data in the memory as characters. You might ask me, won't that be a security threat? Not at all, because we don't use pointers, we don't have addresses, so we don't know where the data is being stored. Therefore, there is no security threat at all. No way. Command line arguments. This is also another way of passing the parameters when you're running a program. Like say how you run a program, you usually type Java and you type the class name, and along with it you just pass the parameters that needs to be passed in the string arguments that is there in your public static void main. Just pass the string and voila, your program simply works. That's all. These are the convert types. So as I told you, there is a wrapper class for every primitive data type. When the user gives an input, that input has to be converted. Therefore, suppose he gives a value and that value has been stored in a variable a, which you wanted to convert it as int, then you declare the variable a as integer.parseInt method. So parseInt is a method and integer is a class. So integer class.parseInt is the method. The same way for float, you use the float.parseFloat. Now if you ask me a question whether you can have integer a equal to integer.parseFloat, you need to understand that the integer class only has the parseInt method inside. It does not have the parseFloat method inside. Therefore, the program will return an error. The same way, the short short.parseShort. So all these are classes which are normally called as wrapper classes. So each and every class will have its own methods inside. The double will have the parse double, the short will have the parse short, the float will have the parse float, and the integer will have the parse int methods inside that class. Therefore, you cannot call one method from another class. After having seen all this, shall we see some programs? Yeah? You want to? Okay. We're going to see 3 programs today. One is the command line arguments, then the stream processes, namely the data input stream and the buffer reader. So let's see the command line argument program. It's under the name class command with a capital C. It can be anything, it can be caps or smalls, not an issue. Then I have invoked the public static void main. The string here is a class and S is the array of strings that I have passed. I am giving 2 data types here, int id and the string name. So there are 2 arguments to be passed. The id, that is the integer, is being wrapped into the integer class with the parseInt method, and this S that I have used here is the same as that I am using here, and the array of 0, which means the first value that I give as a command line argument will be taken as the id, and the name is a string name over here, and the S of 1 is the index 1. So the name that I am going to give is going to be my second command line argument. After having given these inputs, we are just going to print it out as employee ID, then the ID, which is in the form of an integer, and of course the employee name, which is in the form of a string with the name as name. Please note that I have added the plus symbol over here. These are concatenation symbols that are used in the Java program. It's not like your addition symbols that you use in the operators program. These are just concatenation symbols. So shall we run this program? So I'm just using the Java C command to compile the program, and I'm typing the name of the file, command.java. The file has compiled, and now we need to run the program and pass the arguments. Now I'll type Java command and I'll type the arguments that I need to pass. Like say for example, I'm giving an ID of 101 and I'm giving the name as Bob. Now I press enter. Now if you see, you have an output. Employee ID is 101 and the employee name is Bob. But if you see, there is what you call no space between the ID 101 and the name Bob all comes together. There is no space in between these characters. So how do we create a space? Let's go to the program once again and let's see what we can do. Here it's very simple. All I have to do is just press a space in between the name and the double quotes. That's it. I compile the program once again. I execute the program. I give the same values 101 and Bob. Now if you see, there is a space between the ID and the name. So a command line argument program has been executed. Now let's see the next program, that is the data input stream, which was the earlier version that was introduced in the older versions of Java. So let's see the data input stream program. In this, if you see, I have imported the java.io package, which we saw in the slides that it was very important. Therefore we've imported this package, and of course the class data1. Now there is another keyword that I have introduced here. It says throws exception. Whenever I am using an input stream, like say a buffer reader or a data input stream, then I need to throw an exception. Only then the Java program will work. Now, there are three data types. One is the integer PID, maybe a product ID. Then there is a string product name, and of course there's a double, the price. Now the data input stream class, I have created an object called DIS for the data input stream. So how do I create a class? By using the new keyword as we saw in C++. So data input stream DIS will be equal to new data input stream of. Now I have passed in this parameter system. S stands for the class and .in is the object called in. So system.in for input. Now I am printing enter the product ID, and in that I am going to place the PID, that is the product ID that I have given here, and I have converted a wrapper over here, the integer.parseInt, and this DIS is the data input stream, and the read line is the input that the user gives, which will be read and stored in the memory. The same way we have asked the user to enter the product name, and the P name is also read over here, and we have included the product price, and we have taken it as dis.readline of double. I have printed whatever input I have taken as system.out.println product ID plus PID. Of course, we'll give these spaces over here as seen before in the previous example. And let's try to compile this program. Java C data1.java. Oops, I get a note. It says data1.java uses or overrides a deprecated API, an applications programming interface which has been deprecated or outdated is what we are using. So usually Java programmers, they'll use buffer reader rather than data input stream nowadays. But however, it's, as an example, we can also see the data input stream method. Now let me run this program. I type Java data1. Now it says enter the product ID. Now I'll enter a product ID of the type integer. Now it says enter the product name. Let me type Reebok. Maybe that's a favorite shoe. The price of the product, let me put it as 2000 rupees. And if I press enter, if you see, you get the product details. The product ID 1001, the product name is Reebok, the product price is 2000. So we have seen a program using data input stream. So let's see one program using the buffered reader. The same way, I've imported the java.io package, and there is what you call the buffer1 as a class name. And here too I have thrown the exception because it's essential for this program to run. Now if you see, I have included an integer with a name account number, a string customer name, float balance, and there is a character yes to get the sex, like say it's M or F for male or female. For buffered reader, what I have done over here is I have called another class. It's called the input stream reader, for which I have created an object ISR. This is the input stream reader of system.input. The buffered reader is another class in which I have passed ISR or the input stream reader as a constructor. I have asked the user to enter the account number, and I have passed it as an integer over here. I have asked the user to enter the customer name, and I have read it as a character or a string. System.out.println enter opening balance, and I have passed it as a float in this line. And system.out.println enter sex, M or F. Here I have used s is equal to br.read. This read method will read only a character. But however, what we are going to pass inside is a character, yes. But the default parameter of the br.read method, the return type, is an integer. Therefore, it will take only an integer value. However, yes is a character that I declared over here. So this is likely to come out with an error. So let's see what the error is and then see how to rectify this error. Now I am going to compile the buffer1.java program. Let's see the kind of error it returns. Now if you see, it shows an error. Possible loss of precision is what it says. It says s is equal to br.read. Required is a character because we have declared s as a character. But what it found inside the read method was an integer because the read method's default return type is an integer. Therefore, since a character and an integer don't go hand in hand, we have got an error. So how do we have to rectify this error. In this line s is equal to br.read, I am going to ask the read method to read it as a character, for which I'll just open braces, type char, close braces, and now the program is ready to be compiled. I save the file. I once again compile the file now, java buffer1.java. Now if you see, it has been compiled, and I will run the program. Now the program is running. It is asking for an account number. I given the account number. The customer name, as usual, will take Bob. The opening balance it has, let's see, we'll give it as 2000. We'll give M for mail, and voila, it prints all the details as we have seen in the program. So we've seen 3 programs today, and we've seen how errors can be corrected whenever they throw an error. Happy programming, and write lots and lots of programs. Thank you.